Hello everyone, Zelleranth here, and for today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the upcoming Champions meeting that is Gemini Cup and kind of go over an overview of it, as well as some changes we may have compared to the previous Champions meeting that was similar to it. Now, the previous Gemini Cup was the 3200 Kyoto, which this one's actually going to be the Tokyo 1600, which is actually a repeat of the Cancer Cup, but the difference being on the Cancer Cup, it was good conditions summer. Well, this time it's going to be firm and spring. Of course, it'll be left-handed, and then it's also going to be sunny here. But much like with the Cancer Cup, pretty much everything that worked there will continue to work on this track, but we are now going to have a lot more options, and some Umas that were strong back then are even stronger now. So when we take a look at the track, I'm just kind of give you a reminder who haven't taken a look at it in a while. One of the big things when it comes to starting the late race, which is ultimately what dictates a lot of your acceleration options, not only does it start on a corner, which makes angling and scheming good, you have Major Orion's ult and those kinds of skills that all can activate there and pop them off, but the straightaway is basically right on top of it, making all the straightaway skills work really well. So you, of course, have like Alcondra Paz's ult, one of the ults that you pair with your frontrunner on Sayun Sky, so now you can get a 0.4 acceleration and really launch. But you also now have new skills like Mummy Creek, which you could add on top of that if you can really build a decent enough grandparent on top of it to get it as another inherent, as another acceleration. Of course, you have your end closers with Encroaching Shadow. Being a mile, you can always go with some gamblish skills on your late surger, like with On Your Left and Furious Feet. But now, another acceleration option we have, especially for the for your back enders, is going to be the one that just dropped recently, and one that I'm going to be making a video on some really strong options where you can really use it, which is going to be the King Halo Cheerleader alt inherit. Now this one was a niche and a easy skip for a lot of people because it really only works here and the sprint that starts on a straightaway. But this is a very strong acceleration option, especially for your end closers. And not only do your end closers have the very good Encroaching Shadow for Narita Taishin or straightaway Spurt on everybody else, but now with this one, you can inherit it on them and get a 2.4 seconds 0.2 acceleration. The one negative with Encroaching Shadow and straightaway Spurt is it only lasts 0.9 seconds, even though it can activate from any position. There's no positional requirements. This one, it does have a positional requirement, but it should be fairly easy to meet, depending on if you're going end closer, in that you just have to be in the back half of the pack or sixth or worst for the entire duration of the first half of the race, and you cannot get rushed. If you meet those conditions, then you get this acceleration. If you do it on King Halo, it's a 0.4 acceleration and can be very consistent if you want to build her as an end closer. And then you bring like 2 front runners and 2 pace chasers to kind of cover 2 of the front spots, and then she should be able to hopefully stay in the back end. Now, if you're building an end closer, especially Narita Taishin, and she pushes too far forward with the skill in this first half of the race, that just means she's already doing really well on her own right and is very far forward and might be able to just win outright from being very far forward. So there's the positive of that with your end closers. Now, late surgers have a lot of other options tied with it with their gambles, with like, of course, you still have On Your Left and Furious Feet as gamble accelerations. And now with us in Track Blazer, you have a lot of new skill options, especially when it comes to the Guts deck. This is where you're going to really see the Guts cards shine, especially if you have enough of your own cards that it opens up your borrow options. One of the ones I've talked about recently being the Bamboo Memory having full of Vigor. This card is, and this is going to be tied to a lot of other ones if you're wanting to really take advantage of King Halo's ult, as there's a lot of these final corner velocity skills. You have Full of Vigor, you have Rising Dragon, and those types. Those are going to be very good for your back enders, so they push forward in the second half, which on Tokyo Racetrack is basically the final corner. So you pair those cards with her acceleration and maybe your other gambling acceleration options and into the race acceleration options like Triumphant Pulse, and you can make them really, really strong. If you remember back from Cancer Cup, your late surgers and end closers were really strong back then. Now, they were strong back then also because with the lack of skills, your front runners really didn't keep popping skills the entire time. So the front runners were a little bit weaker back then. So they could, while they could win outright, your late surgers were also very competitive. Now it's going to be a little bit more dependent to have all those options because your front runners have so many more skills. You're going to need these extra options to have a better chance with your end closers and late surgers. Now I'll be making dedicated videos on some of these builds because I've really started to theory craft a lot of them and what will work. But just know that pretty much every position is going to be fairly strong here. Of course, like pace chasers, you're going to have the options of Alcondra Pasa. I feel like she's going to be one of your best options here as a pace chaser. If you really want to make her a front runner, you can, but have fun with all the sparks you have to bring for that. But you have her, or you can put her and inherit on anybody else. You're either your front runner or another pace chaser, pair it with like super creeks, or even angling and scheming, because if you can make a very strong pace chaser, they potentially could steal that. It just really depends on what people are bringing. But every single position is going to be very strong here. But yeah, with this one, I'm actually quite excited for the mild. Now with Tokyo 2400, the one we're currently going into with Taurus Cup, everything can work there, but it's been kind of a pain in the butt because, as you probably already know, a lot harder stamina requirements with that it being 2400. This one, especially if you're able to go with the Guts build, which is going to be fairly strong, this is going to be the strongest one for it, you will have no issues getting the stamina requirements. Now, you're going to have the harder time of trying to get the high roll that's required of Guts build to get the high speed, high power, high guts, as well as a lot of wit. But if you're able to pull it off with your cards, like if you borrow Bamboo Memory, you have Admire Vega, of course the SR card, something like Ines Fujin for extra speed, because you're going to want those Guts cards with speed. So Ines Fujin, Sirius Symbole. You're really going to be able to pop off a very strong build because this is going to be one just like Tokyo 2400 where dueling will be pretty strong as well to kind of win it in the end. So some of your strongest builds may end up being like your end closers with very high guts. Narita Taishin being probably the most prime example with her 20% bonus to it, having Encroaching Shadow, as well as now having access to King Halo's ult. But that can work on pretty much anyone. It just depends on how the rolls go. But yeah, this one is going to be very easy for pretty much everybody to get their stats on it. You can already think of it when we already did the Nakayama 2000, how much easier that one was than the Tokyo 2400. This one is going to be even easier. And so we're just going to have to see how it shakes out. I will be making videos on some of these theory crafted builds I have because I feel like this is the one that really stands out with, especially a lot of the stuff that just came out recently, as being able to make some pretty crazy builds, but a lot of RNG kind of required to make them work. Like there's one with King Halo, I feel like, that you could make that's very, very strong, but going to require insane and RNG to pull it off on all the support cards you're needing to actually finish their chains, as well as winning 50-50 and getting the gold skill versus the white skill. But I'll be making separate videos for that. This is just a quick overview of it. But those that were not able to beat the Gemini Cup the first time around, this is going to be a good opportunity to get it, especially if you're not really good at making Umas for longs, which the last Gemini Cup was, but this one being mile, so you will actually be able to hit the stat marks. It's just going to come down to ultimately getting the correct skills. But that's going to be it for now, and if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps, and thanks for watching.